January 14th, 1945. 22:47 hours. Over the Schnee Eifel, Western Germany. A moonless sky smothered the world in darkness, so absolute that even the snow-covered hills below seemed to vanish into a black ocean. Only the wind existed out here, thin, freezing, and razor-sharp as it clawed across the skin of the aircraft. Inside the cockpit of the P-61B Black Widow, the dim red glow of the instrument panel flickered across the face of Captain Raymond Rook Halden, 27 years old, Iowa farm boy turned night hunter. His gloved hand tightened around the control column as he listened to the constant hum of the twin Pratt & Whitney R2800 engines, each one a 2,000 horsepower heartbeat punching through the darkness. Behind him, in the rear fuselage, sat Lieutenant Charles Decker, radar operator, age 24. A Boston kid, brilliant with electronics, practically raised beside a ham radio set in his father's basement. Decker's world right now was a green-tinted radar screen glowing like a phantom in the shadows, the sweeping line of the SCR-720 radar cutting arcs through the void. To the Luftwaffe, American night fighters were a joke. Too slow, too big, too clumsy. But the P-61 was no joke. It was a predator built for darkness, designed not to outfly the enemy, but to hunt him unseen, unheard, and unstoppable. And tonight, the hunt had begun. The intercom crackled softly. "Rook, I've got to return," Decker whispered, voice low, tense. 2 o'clock high. Range, closing fast. Halden's jaw tightened. Enemy intruder. Likely a GU-88 night bomber slipping behind the lines to strike an Allied supply depot. Perfect prey for a Black Widow. The P-61 pivoted smoothly as Halden rolled her onto a new heading. The aircraft responded like something alive. Heavy, yes, but stable, obedient, and lethal. Frost hissed against the canopy. The altimeter read 9,200 feet. Outside, nothing but endless void. "Angle?" Halden murmured. Decker leaned in closer to the screen, eyes narrowed. "Climbing, doing about 190 knots. He doesn't know we're here." Perfect. The SCR-720 radar pulsed again, painting a clearer picture. 2 blips now. The bomber, and one more shape, a smaller Echo orbiting above. A Mi-110G night escort. Halden felt his stomach tighten. 2 targets, 1 bomber, 1 fighter, a silent nocturnal wolf pack. But fear didn't stop him. This was why he flew. He pushed the throttles forward, manifold pressure rising, engines roaring deeper. The P-61 surged into the night. Outside, the darkness felt alive. The clouds opened like jagged black curtains, revealing a distant silhouette gliding across the sky, almost invisible against the void, except for the faint twinkle of exhaust flame. A Ju-88, big, vulnerable, too comfortable. They still laughed at the P-61 in Luftwaffe ready rooms. Too slow, too fat, an easy kill. They had never seen her like this, stalking through shadow, guided by a radar, system so advanced it could sniff out an aircraft hidden inside a moonless storm. Decker's voice sharpened. "Rook, range 800. We're closing fast. Hold this angle. Just a little." The Black Widow slid into position behind the unsuspecting bomber. 150 feet below, just outside visual range, but dead in the bomber's blind spot. Halden steadied the aircraft. 4 20mm Hispano cannons sat in the belly, 4 50 caliber machine guns in the turret. Enough firepower to carve a steel ship in half. But he wanted the perfect shot. No moon, no stars. Just the hunter and the hunted. Then, a flicker. The Ju-88's dorsal gunner swung his MG-131 blindly into the dark. A burst of tracers spit across the sky, nowhere near Halden, but enough to send a chill through the cockpit. "He suspects something," Decker warned. Halden exhaled slowly, steadying his heartbeat. "Not for long." He lowered the nose a fraction, lined up the bomber's heat-slick engines in his gun sight, felt the thrum of his cannons, ready to devour the enemy. His finger hovered over the trigger. "Hold, hold. Wait for the climb," Decker whispered. They climbed. The bomber lifted. The sight aligned perfectly. Halden fired. A blinding stream of 20mm fire erupted from the belly of the P-61, white-hot arcs slicing upward like lightning lances. The rounds struck the Ju-88's starboard engine, detonating in a burst that lit the sky like a brief sunrise. Metal shredded. Fuel ignited. The bomber spiraled violently downward, engulfed in fire as its crew screamed into the night. The Black Widow banked away, flames reflecting off her glossy black wings. But Halden didn't smile, because on his radar, the Mi-1 in 10 had just peeled toward them, closing fast. The predator had become the prey. The burning wreck of the Ju-88 spiraled toward the forest below, its flaming descent casting a hellish orange hue across the underbelly of the clouds. For a brief moment, the night looked like day, until the darkness swallowed the fire and restored the world to silence. But inside the P-61 cockpit, silence did not mean safety. "Rook, new contact. Hard return, coming in fast from our high 6. Decker's voice cracked with urgency. Halden jerked his head up. A Mi-110G night fighter, armored, armed, and flown tonight by a German pilot who no longer found the Black Widow amusing. The Luftwaffe had seen the fireball. Now one of their hunters was diving to avenge it. The P-61 vibrated slightly as Halden pushed the throttles forward again, the twin R-2800 engines howling as superchargers spooled up. Airspeed climbed. 240 knots, 260, 280. Yet the darkness pressed harder, closing in, suffocating, turning the sky into a shifting battlefield of guesses and shadows. "Where is he?" Halden demanded. Decker's eyes darted across the radar scope, fingers tapping urgently on the housing. 200 yards and closing. He's diving into our wake. Halden's blood ran cold. The 110 pilot wasn't just chasing them. He was maneuvering into the Schrager music attack position, those upward-angled cannons Germans loved to use for stealth kills. A single burst from those twin 20mm guns could punch straight into the Widow's belly. Halden snapped the control column forward, pitching the heavy fighter into a sudden dive. His stomach lurched as the P-61 fell through a pocket of turbulent air. "Hold on!" Wind screamed past the canopy as the altimeter unwound. The stars vanished. Cloud layers swallowed them whole. The P-61 shook violently as Halden leveled off inside a thick bank of fog. Using it as a temporary shield, the Widow was heavy. But she loved bad weather. She thrived in it, hid in it. But so did the enemy. The intercom buzzed again. "Rook." He followed us into the cloud. "Closing to 150. He's not backing off." Halden wiped sweat from his eyebrow. The cockpit felt suddenly tight, claustrophobic. "All right, if he wants us that bad, we'll give him something to chew on." He rolled the P-61 into a sharp left turn, engine straining. The aircraft groaned. Ice formed on the windscreen edges. Moisture flickered like ghostly ribbons across the wings. Inside the cloud, no one could see. But radar could. Decker hunched over his set. "He's overshooting! He's overshooting!" Halden pulled the Widow into a climbing roll. flipping the aircraft on its back for just an instant before stabilizing. The maneuver was brutal inside a heavy night fighter. Every bolt felt like it might snap loose. But it changed the geometry. The hunter was now ahead of them. "I've got tone," Decker shouted. Halden pushed the throttles, chasing the faint silhouette as the P-61 burst out of the cloud bank like a black meteor. The night sky returned, wide and infinite, and there, just ahead, was the Mi-110, its twin engines glowing a deep orange. Halden's breath steadied. He squeezed the trigger. A surge of .50 caliber fire from the dorsal turret raked the sky, carving bright, blistering lines toward the German fighter. The tracers arced beautifully, but the 110 pilot was good, very good. He rolled away at the last second. The rounds missed by inches, slicing empty air where his cockpit had been moments earlier. Then the 110 flipped back toward them, aggression in every movement. The Mi-110 unleashed a burst of 20mm cannon fire that streaked past the Widow's right wing, explosions cracking loud enough that Halden felt the shockwave in his chest. Shrapnel grazed the outer panel. Warning lights flickered. The Widow bucked sideways before Halden forced her level again. "Rook, he's circling, coming back around." Halden's pulse hammered. They were now locked in a duel, predator against predator, both aircraft weaving through the night like twin shadows cutting through deep water. The Mi-110 dove. The Widow climbed. Then both reversed in a violent corkscrew, each pilot trying to trap the other in a gun sight made of moonless black. Halden swung wide, pushing his engines to the brink. "We have to flip the hunt," he growled. "We need to make him afraid of us." Decker watched the radar echo shift, both dots spiraling in a deadly dance. Then a realization hit him. "Rook, if you can get us under him by 50 yards, I can line up a perfect turret shot." Halden's lips curled into a grim smile. "Then let's go scare the hell out of him." He rolled the Black Widow onto her belly and dove straight toward the 110's blind spot, engines screaming, wings trembling. The night hunt was about to turn violent again. The P-61 dropped beneath the twisting silhouette of the Mi-110, diving just far enough that the German pilot's upward-angled guns, his deadly Schräge music, lost their advantage. Halden felt the hull shudder as he nosed the Black Widow downward, slipping into the enemy's blind spot like a shadow slipping beneath deeper shadow. Wind hammered the cockpit. Frost spread its fingers across the canopy glass. The ammeter needles trembled as the engines roared under maximum power. "Decker, how low?" Halden shouted, voice trembling with vibration. The radar operator hunched closer to his glowing green screen, his headset buzzing with static. 60 yards, 55. Hold her there. Rook, do not climb yet." The Mi-110 streaked across the sky above them, a darker smear against an already black canvas. Every few seconds, the German pilot fired blind, probing bursts of 20mm cannon fire into the void, trying to feel out where the Widow had gone. Explosions bloomed like brief white flowers in the night. Halden ignored them. He kept his eyes glued to the faint exhaust glow of the Mi-110 overhead, watching it flicker as the German jockeyed with his throttles. The Widow flew directly underneath him now. Too close for the 110's downward armament to reach, too low for him to dive without losing position. A moment of fragile balance. A moment in which one wrong movement would send both aircraft spiraling into a mid-air collision. Decker's voice broke the tension. "Rook, turrets aligned." Halden didn't need more. He hit the control that handed the dorsal turret full authority to Decker. A mechanical whir vibrated through the fuselage as the 450 caliber Brownings locked into position like the jaws of a nocturnal beast. "Your shot, Dex." For half a second, nothing moved. Nothing breathed. Then Decker pressed the trigger. The night erupted. 4 streams of bright orange tracers leapt upward from the P-61's turret, slicing through the darkness in a perfect converging arc. The 50 caliber rounds hammered into the belly of the Mi-110, chewing through aluminum, fuel lines, and hydraulic systems with savage precision. The German fighter jolted violently, almost flipping sideways. Its right engine belched flame. Panels tore loose and spiraled away like burning leaves. Inside the Mi-110, Oberleutnant Karl Brenner, the hunter who had swooped down with confidence, felt his cockpit fill with sparks and the acrid sting of smoke. A second burst from Decker struck his fuselage. A third ripped through his starboard wing root. The Mi-110 began to roll, out of control, clawing desperately at altitude it could no longer hold. Halden saw the shape of the failing aircraft slip past their left wing, smoke streaming behind it like a torn funeral shroud. "He's hit hard," Decker shouted. "Rook, finish him." Halden didn't hesitate. He banked sharply, the Widow straining under the G-forces. The P-61's wings carved through the cold air as the aircraft swung around to pursue the wounded Predator. The German pilot fought with everything he had. He leveled momentarily, tried to extend, tried to climb. But the Widow was faster now, angrier, closing the gap. Halden's index finger brushed the trigger on the control column. But he waited. Timing, patience, precision. Predators didn't lash out. They struck when the moment was perfect. The range closed to 150 yards, then 120, then 90. The Mi-110's silhouette flared briefly as its remaining engine backfired. That was the moment. Halden fired. A thunderous burst of 20mm cannon fire exploded from the P-61's belly guns. The shells ripped into the German fighter's left wing, detonating one after another, each blast sending shards of burning metal scattering across the night sky. The Mi-110 jolted, lifted, then snapped into a flat spin, on fire from nose to tail. Flames poured from the cockpit as the wounded machine spiraled downward, a dying Predator consumed by the darkness it once ruled. Halden watched until the fiery shape vanished behind a cloud bank. Only when the orange glow dimmed completely did he finally breathe. Decker exhaled shakily over the intercom. 2 kills, in 1 run. Halden nodded, eyes still searching the sky. Radar sweep, Dex. The Luftwaffe doesn't fly alone at night. Decker recalibrated the scope, scanning for any flicker of movement. Then, a new blip appeared. Small, fast, approaching from the east. Rook, we've got another one. Halden tightened his gloves. The night wasn't done with him yet. Decker's voice cut through the cockpit like a knife. The fatigue, the adrenaline, the 2 kills. They couldn't slow down now. The radar screen pulsed with a sharp new echo, brighter and faster than the lumbering Ju-88 or the wounded Mi-110 had ever been. Closing at high speed, Rook. This one's no bomber. Halden already knew. The Luftwaffe had sent someone else. Someone quicker, lighter, desperate enough to break through the Allied night patrol line. A Ju-188 reconnaissance bird? A Du-217 intruder? Or worse, a fighter. But Halden didn't flinch. Tonight the sky belonged to him and his Black Widow. He steadied the throttles, feeling the engine's deep vibration travel up his arms. Outside the canopy, the night stretched endlessly, an ocean of shifting winds and faint glimmers of far-off artillery strobes. Somewhere below, American infantry columns slogged through the frozen Ardennes. Somewhere ahead, German bombers looked for roads to burn. And between them, at 10,000 feet, flew a heavy American night fighter bristling with guns and guided by an invisible electronic eye. Give me bearing, Halden murmured. Decker leaned closer, breath fogging the inside of his mask. 090, altitude. Climbing, damn. He's climbing fast. A chill ran up Halden's spine. Climbing at night meant confidence. Only a pilot who trusted his machine and his instincts in the dark would try that. He's on an intercept vector, Decker added quietly. He's hunting us. Halden swallowed hard. Good. He pulled the Black Widow into a shallow left turn, positioning the aircraft for a wide-arcing approach. The P-61 wasn't about tight turns. It was about momentum, authority, and overwhelming fire. If an enemy fighter wanted a duel, they'd have to stare straight into the Widow's fangs. The radar blip doubled in intensity. Decker stiffened. Rook, whatever that is, it's fast. Range 600 in closing. Halden checked his instruments. Fuel stable, oil temperatures in the green, wings icing slightly but manageable. The Widow was tired, but still hungry. He clicked the intercom. Dex, fire control free. If he gives us a silhouette, I want you lighting him up. The turret hummed above them, rotating with mechanical purpose. Moments later, a faint shape materialized. Just a streak of darker motion against the sky. No navigation lights, no exhaust glow, a shadow in a world of shadows. And then, tracers. A line of white-hot streaks whipped past the port wing, so close Halden felt the pressure waves slap the fuselage. The enemy had opened fire. Blindly? No. He had seen them, or guessed. Halden yanked the control column right, the Widow banking hard, engines howling as their propeller tips shaved the edge of compressibility. The heavy fighter rolled nearly 70 degrees before Halden pulled her level again. Dex, visual? Trying, Decker snapped, turret shifting. The enemy pilot dove again, fast, controlled, confident. He wasn't spraying random fire like the WWII gunner. He wasn't panicking like the WWII-110 escort. No, this pilot stalked with intent. A true night hunter. The enemy aircraft flashed by again, this time lower, sharper, wings narrow and angular. Halden caught the silhouette for just a fraction of a second. A Ju-88C-6 heavy fighter, stripped of bombing gear, packed with cannons, radar, and flown often by elite night interceptors. Some were veterans of years of nocturnal warfare on both eastern and western fronts. Halden's pulse quickened. This one wouldn't scare. This one wouldn't flee. This one wouldn't die easily. The P-61's turret fired, slashing the dark with long arcs of 50 caliber tracers, but the German pilot rolled out of the stream like smoke slipping through fingers. He curved upward, leveled out, then dove again, fangs bared. Another burst from the Ju-88C's nose cannons hammered the air around Halden. Rounds stitched dangerously close across the Widow's left wing route. Warning lights flashed. Metal clanged. The aircraft lurched. We took a hit. Rook, your port flaps are sticking. Halden didn't slow down, didn't hesitate, didn't waver. If the German wanted this to become a knife fight, then Halden would give him one. He pulled back hard, forcing the Widow into a gut-wrenching climbing turn. The heavy aircraft strained, frame groaning as if resisting the command. The horizon vanished. The sky stretched thin. Decker's voice sharpened. He's committing to the turn. He's staying with us. A bold move, a fatal mistake, if Halden timed it right. The two black aircraft carved spirals into the night, their paths crossing, weaving, stalking each other through a darkness thicker than smoke. Halden felt it. The moment the German committed too much energy. Too steep, too slow. Dex, get ready. The Black Widow pivoted. The Ju-88C overshot, and Halden saw his chance to flip the hunt once more. Halden seized it. He shoved the throttles forward, ramming every ounce of power into the twin R-2800 engines. The propeller discs blurred to near invisibility as the Widow lunged upward, climbing into the arc of the German fighter's miscalculated turn. Wind clawed across the canopy. The aircraft trembled. Even the bolts seemed to scream under the strain. But Halden held the course. The P-61's bulk became a weapon. Momentum, inertia, power, all forcing the heavy night fighter into an attack vector that no light German interceptor could hope to escape. Dex. Where is he? Decker leaned into his radar, eyes wide. He's right above us, 40 yards, descending. Rook, he's trying for a diving shot. The German pilot was gambling everything on one deadly pass. Halden's grip tightened around the stick. Not tonight. He shoved the control column forward and kicked in right rudder. The Black Widow rolled onto her back, inverted beneath the diving Ju-88C. For a moment, one impossible moment, the two aircraft hung perfectly aligned, the German plunging downward, the Widow rising inverted, their silhouettes crossing like clashing blades. Decker saw the geometry. He didn't ask permission. He fired. The dorsal turret unleashed a blistering cone of .50 caliber fire, the tracers rising upward toward the falling shadow. Bullets tore through the Ju-88C's belly, punching through ammunition lockers and control cables. The German plane shuddered mid-dive, its precise attack collapsing into chaos. But Halden wasn't done. The Ju-88C tumbled downward, desperately trying to right itself. Halden rolled the Widow back upright and dropped in behind it, nose lined perfectly with the German fighter's failing descent. Altitude, 7,800 feet. Airspeed, 260 knots. Distance, closing to 100 yards. The Ju-88C's pilot fought his dying machine, forcing the yoke back, engines screaming unevenly as oil began to leak across the windscreen. His navigation lights, dark until now, flickered wildly, a sign of power failure. Halden steadied his breathing. The German pilot wasn't fleeing. He was turning, trying one last maneuver, one last snap into a defensive roll that might shake the heavier P-61. But Halden had flown too many nights, seen too many men die trying to perform miracles on burning wings. Dex, finish it with me. With pleasure. Halden pressed the trigger. The Widow bit. All four 20mm cannons roared at once, vomiting a torrent of explosive shells that streaked through the black like molten comets. Each impact tore into the Ju-88C's fuselage, detonating in fiery blossoms that ripped the aircraft apart piece by piece. One shell smashed through the cockpit. Another split the port engine into a storm of flaming debris. A third severed the wing root entirely. The German fighter disintegrated in midair. A sphere of fire erupted against the night sky, illuminating the clouds with a violent golden halo. Fragments tumbled away like dying sparks, falling toward the frozen forests below. The shockwave rattled the Widow's wings. For several seconds, Halden flew through a drifting cloud of burning wreckage. Then darkness reclaimed everything. Silence returned. Halden exhaled slowly, his breath shaking. Dex, you good? Decker nodded in the dim red glow of his compartment. 3 kills. 3 in one night. He wiped a trembling hand across his face. Rook, they'll never laugh at this plane again. Halden allowed himself a small, weary smile. Outside, the sky remained cold, unfeeling, endless. But somewhere below, Allied troops advanced with one less bomber to fear. Somewhere above, Luftwaffe pilots whispered new rumors about an American monster that hunted with radar eyes and killed with blinding bursts of fire. A black shape sweeping silently through the night. A widow, striking without warning. Halden banked the aircraft toward the west, setting a course back to base. The engines droned steadily, the sound of a hunter returning home. In the darkness behind them, the shattered remains of 3 enemy aircraft burned faintly against the distant snow. The night sky, once mocking, now bowed to the machine that ruled it. The P-61 Black Widow. Silent, relentless, lethal.